clean piece of tissue and wipe it all down. In the booth, we've got some ProScale Paints Grey Microfiller Primer. We've got my Water Revolution CR3, which is a 0.3mm needle airbrush. We're at 18 psi. I'm just giving it all a blow over to get any dust off. I've given it a wipe over the Tamiya anti-static brush as well. And we're just going to put down several light coats of grey primer. So this is a microfiller primer, so it goes on a little bit thicker than normal primers, and it will dry with a slight texture. And the idea of that is, it's like a high build primer. So once you've primed it all, if you flat it back with a 3000 grit Tamiya sponge, which we do in a minute, it will help infill any micro imperfections on the surface, and the surface will end up super, super smooth. Primer, in my opinion, is one of the most important steps in modelling, especially on cars, in my opinion, because not only will it help you spot any imperfections in the bodywork, which is something I've started to do more and more lately on car body shells, is put a guide cutter primer down first, then have a look and make sure I've got nowhere I've misscribed, or I've marked, or there's a sink mark in the body, and then you can go back and rectify it, because quite often they don't show until you've got a couple of coats of primer down. So not only that, it also helps with the paint adhesion, and it's just a very important step in modelling. I know a lot of people skip it, even to this day. I see a lot of people do, "Oh, I haven't primed in 40 years, I've never had a problem." But we're trying to make the best we can, and these kits aren't cheap. In fact, no model kits are cheap anymore. They're all expensive in some degree. So you might as well give it the best job you possibly can. There's loads of good primers out there. Our primer is absolutely fantastic. Tamiya primer in the spray can's great. Mr. Surface is great. And use whatever one you use, or whichever one you prefer. Obviously, with ProScale paints, we recommend our own primer because they are compatible together. But I've had no issues spraying our paints over Tamiya and Mr. Surface primer. But like I say, very, very important step in modelling. And I think it's definitely one that shouldn't be skipped. Whether it's just to find imperfections in the body, help fill imperfections in the body, you've got some slight scratches or scuffs, or just for the paint adhesion. I think all three are important, really. So final coat of primer, I reckon we put about 4 coats of primer on this. Very, very light coats to start with, and on the last coat I'm putting down a slightly wetter coat. Now resin is different to plastic. Resin's a lot more forgiving with paint, so you can put our paints down a little bit wetter on resin. With the normal paints, there's no real reason to, because it makes no difference in the finish. But on plastic, just be a little bit more careful, because while our paints are very forgiving, they are still a lacquer-based paint. So always put down nice light thin coats. Now I'm just concentrating on the front of this and getting all those nooks and crannies, all those intakes in and around the lights, the grills, and there's quite a lot of grills and little hidey holes on this thing, so just take your time, build it up nice and slow, and make sure you're going on and off the air every now and then. I don't tend to do it on every pass. You can see I've gone across the roof in one go there, but I'll come off for the next section, and that way if you get any paint build up on the tip, you're blowing off the model rather than getting it all over the model. And there we go. Found a bit of priming, a little bit on the spoiler. That looks good to me. Yep, good. I think, like I said, that's probably about 4 coats of primer there, I think. I lose track, if I'm honest, because I'm just kind of on autopilot. While we're here, we've got some Tamiya white primer. Now, because I can't get into the wheels to sand them properly, I'm going to go for Tamiya. So I have Tamiya spray can white primer decanted in one of our spare primer bottles. It's been thinned about 10% with Tamiya lacquer thinner with retarder, and it's going to put a couple of light coats down on our wheels. I've also got Mr. Hobby, Mr. Servicer 1500 Black, which again, I've pre-thinned about 60-40 with Mr. Hobby level and thinner. I'm going to put a couple of coats down on the outer part of the wheel. So these are going to be chrome. So this is the start of the process of our chrome system. So again, the resin's been thoroughly cleaned and degreased. And we're going to put down a nice primer coat of black. And then we'll go through all the appropriate steps in our chrome system. So all through the Iwata HPC Plus. Sorry, no, it's not. The Iwata CR3. Which is my preferred airbrush for putting down just standard paints. Now, we've got ProScale Paints Deep Marine Blue. I saw this colour on this car and fell in love with it, and it's one of the main reasons why I bought the kit. It's a beautiful blue colour. It just looks absolutely amazing. So mixed it up, put it on our website, and here we are. So again, Iwata CR3 0.3 revolution at about 18 psi, and we're going to pour several coats of paint down. Nice thin layers of paint. We don't want to put them down heavy. There is no benefit at all. Our gloss coat will come from our 2K later on. But like I say, paying attention to all those nooks and crannies, because there's lots of intakes, there's lots of little scoops and grills and all sorts of little recesses on this. So we're just concentrating on coverage rather than getting coats of paint down. I think in total on this, I put about 8 coats of paint down on this. Our paint does cover really well, but I am putting super light coats down and just following the edge of the previous coat ever so slightly. So I've sped the footage up a little bit, otherwise it does get a little bit boring. So I'll pop some music on and we'll come back in a minute. I would say we were on about coat number 4 here. I've been going alternating passes, so we're going left to right on one coat and then up and down on the following one, and that will give us all nice coverage. You can see the blue is starting to build coverage really nicely now. That colour is absolutely stunning. But we continue putting our coat of paint down until we've got sufficient coverage. And there we go. I reckon that's 6 to 8 coats of paint. Coverage is absolutely beautiful. The colour is just absolutely amazing. It's a beautiful, deep, metallic blue colour. Looks absolutely stunning. It's gone down absolutely flawlessly, as our paints always do. And this is going to look absolutely amazing when 2K'd. So there we go. So, white for the wheels. We've got Porsche Pure White. This is probably the whitest white that we sell. So I thought, you know what? Perfect candidate for doing the wheels. So the wheels are going to be a chrome white mix. So a couple of coats of this, probably 3 or 4 coats on each wheel, making sure we get the backs of them as well. Luckily the wheels are in sections, so it makes them a lot easier to actually paint. And obviously we've got 4 in total. So yeah, give it a coat of paint, let it flash off for 5 minutes between coats, and then we can come back and crack on with these. Rear spoiler, 2 of these in total, so we've got a larger one and a smaller one. I'm just test fitting this to make sure it all fits before we commit to any carbon work. The paint's been drying for about 4 hours now, so it's well and truly dry. And we've got some carbon sheets in my water here. Now I believe, I'm trying to think off the top of my head, this is Tamiya carbon, I think. Or is this a zoom on? I cannot remember. I think it's Tamiya. I think this is Tamiya carbon fibre. So I cut a sheet roughly to size. So this should fold round and meet perfectly underneath. That is the plan anyway. So always put the larger piece on top so the join is underneath where you won't see it. And I'm just going to level it all up, equidistant each side. A little bit more. There we go, that'll roughly do. Then we get some UMP decal solutions. And we get this set in place. So remove all the moisture from around the decal just like normal. Make sure you got it all sat where you want it. I think I noticed a little bit of a bump in it, like there was a little bit of muck behind the decal there. So don't forget, you can always pull them back off. As long as you're nice and gentle, the decals, they're not something to be scared of. I noticed a lot of people seem to be terrified of decals. They're a lot more resilient than you think, especially this carbon film. It is very, very forgiving. So with all the moisture out the back, we're going to hit it with our heat gun. Just give it a gentle, quick heat. The heat and the actual blowing action of the heat gun helps to fold the decal around the back. There we go. So we fold most of it around with our fingers. Your fingers are an excellent decaling tool. Thankfully, we come with 8 of them. Yes, that's right. We have 8 fingers and 2 thumbs. And then some UMP decal solutions. This will be the UMP Strong, which is the middle ground strength one. We can get these set in place and then using a cotton bud, remove any excess decal solution and make sure we've burnished all the decal down. And there we go. As simple as that. A little bit of heat, a little bit of decal solution, and a little bit of patience. And we can also do the small one. Now be careful of the smaller one. This is a piece of resin, and it is a very delicate part. So same process. The decal just large enough to wrap around the back, and using our fingers to very carefully conform it around. A little bit of heat. Use a little bit less heat than the bigger piece because this is a thinner piece of resin, and resin will actually react to heat and bend. And then set it in place with our solutions. Now we've got the spoiler ends. There's 2 photo-etch plates that go on the end of the spoiler. There's little recesses on the side of the body, which I didn't show it in the build, but I actually did have to use a micro chisel just to remove a little bit of like dried resin that was in there. So I actually missed that bit of footage off. So just literally used it and got it in there. Right, 2K time. So we've got several 2K sessions in this one, 3 in total. So this is the first step in our Chrome system. So ProScale Paints 2K, we'll talk about it a little bit more in a bit. But it's a 2-to-1 system, 2 parts clear, 1 part activator, and then 5% thinner. Mix it up. Make sure you're gloved, you got your respirator on, yada yada yada, all the safety precautions, which again we'll talk about in a minute. And what we're going to do now is we're going to 2K clear coat the black rims, and that will give us our base for our chrome. So it's a case of mixing it all. Use medical grade medicine cups is a very, very important step. You'll find the cheaper ones that you pick up in like dollar stores or Poundland, they react with lacquer thinner and melt, and that melting plastic then reacts with the 2K and ruins it. And any pipettes, use them once, throw them away. So we're just going to put down a semi-wet coat and then a wet coat just to give us a nice 2K black. And this is the perfect base for our Chrome system. Chrome system's available on our website. There are full instructions on the website, as well as an instructional video, and we send out instructions with each Chrome set that we sell as well. So this is the second stage of our Chrome. First one was the black primer, then the first 2K. And we'll be back once this is dry to put the Chrome on, then put the sealer on, and then our final 2K. It sounds really long-winded. It's actually pretty simple. What I'm going to do here is line all these up and then angle the holder so it stays nice and flat, and the self-leveling properties of the 2K take effect properly. So there we go. There's step 2 of the Chrome system. That is now dried for a good 4 hours. And this is step 3. So we've got our Chrome on the right. This is pre-thinned out the bottle. We're going to spray several light coats of this, building it up slowly. You'll see the instant chrome effect on the 2K black. You don't want to hose it on. You just build them nice and slow, and we're just getting all the angles, all the inside and the outside, front and back. And you can see the beautiful chrome finish. You do not need a lot at all. There we go. I've set my pressure down to 18 psi, and we're just putting very, very light coats down. That chrome will now dry, and while that's drying, we're going to do some decaling. So we've got these nice big white stripes down the side of the car. Now, I did worry about these, thinking would they be white enough or would the blue bleed through? And I very nearly put an LP9 barrier coat to clear coat down. And I'm glad I didn't, because the Hobby Design decals, absolutely fantastic, whiter than white, and they laid down absolutely perfect. So they laid in place absolutely spot on. I'm just getting them in there, getting all the moisture out from behind them, and then we're going to hit them with some UMP Ultra Modern Products Strong Decal Solution to get them set in place. A little bit of heat will also help as well. Just get them in, and the stripes on this car just look absolutely epic. This machine is phenomenal. It's an absolutely beautiful car, and I believe the real life car in this colour sold for like $500,000 recently. Crazy amount of money. But yeah, decals went down absolutely perfectly. UMP decal solutions working perfect as always. And then just removing any excess decal solution. And there we go. There's the side decal in place. We do exactly the same for the other side. And there we go. Once the decal's set and it's been in place for an hour or so, I got a brand new scalpel in my blade in my scalpel, and just slice through the decals in any of the panel lines. So just very direct and purposeful. Just slice it, don't be scared of it, just avoid the paintwork, and then a little dab of decal solutions in there, and I find dotting it with the brush helps push it into the panel line. So we just keep dabbing it and dabbing it and dabbing it. There we go. You'll find it settles itself into the panel line. You also may find a little bit of heat helps as well. But just be careful here at this stage. And this is an important stage to do. You don't want it sitting above the panel lines, because when we're going to put a wash in a bit, that can get under the decal. Any clear coats you use can get under the decal. And if they get under there, they'll lift the decal. It will literally float on the clear. So it's very important to make sure your decals are set in place properly. I say a little bit of heat. These heat guns off Amazon, dirt cheap to buy, like 10 to 15 pounds. Invaluable tool, much better than a hairdryer because they're not as powerful, so it doesn't blow everything across your desk. And boy, do they get hot. On the second setting, it will melt styrene, no problem whatsoever. So a very, very useful tool to have on the bench. And like I say, a little bit of heat, a little bit more decal solutions, a little bit more dabbing with the brush, and we'll get those decals perfectly set into the panel lines. Nice and simple. These look absolutely fantastic on the blue. So this little bit of PE, I'm probably doing this in the most awkward way I possibly could, but it worked at the time. Got a little dab of CA glue in the hole where these sit. It's a tiny little recess where these sit. So these have been painted in Mr. Surfacer 1500 black. A little tiny dab of Bob Smith's Super Gold, which, funny enough, we've just become stockists of on ProScale. You can get all your Bob Smith's glues from us over on ProScale now. Same for the other side as well. This just sits in. It should sit flush, but a little bit proud at the same time. So it'll sit in flat, but it's like convex, concave, convex, concave. I can't remember which one it is now. It will sit proud a little bit. There are several other decals on the body as well. I'm literally just replicating the car I saw online, which, funny enough, well, the kit comes with all the correct decals anyway. So they're just all placed where they need to be. There we go. Quite a few decals on this, to be honest. But I thought it's important to put them all on. I'm not usually a fan of little decals like this all over cars, but I think on this, because it's such a significant car, I think it was worth the extra time putting the decals down. And then we have some little carbon 400R logos to go on those PE bits at the back. So make sure your CA glue is all dry before you commit to this. and then get it all lined up properly in place, any moisture out from behind, and then hit it with the decal solutions again. And these look great. Really good kit this. I can't think of any real issue with the kit, other than I had a few problems with the hubs later on. I had to modify the hub a little bit to get a couple of the wheels to fit. But overall, really, really nice kit to build, and a truly iconic car as well. So Hobby Design decals, some of the best I've ever used. I really do enjoy using Hobby Design. They always come off the backing sheet quick, they lay down well, really vibrant, they react well to UMP decal solutions, and they always just set in place absolutely perfect. So top drawer stuff, absolutely fantastic. Right, we're back in the booth, and it's the next step of the chrome system. So this is the sealer. So the sealer is sprayed in really, really light mist coats, like unbelievably fine mist coats. And we're going to spray a fine mist coat all over this wheel. You can see the beautiful chrome effect we've got there. And then we're going to put it down, let it flash off for 5 minutes, and then come back and add a further 2 very, very light coats. You should literally see the mist of sealer hit the chrome, and that's it. It will dull the chrome a bit, but that will come back when we 2K it later on. But it's very important you follow all the directions for our chrome, and if you do, you will end up with an absolutely fantastic chrome finish that is almost impermeable to anything. Once it's 2K'd, it is safe to handle. You can put chemicals on it, you can decal it, and it will not lose any of its shininess whatsoever because the 2K totally protects it. So this sealer works absolutely brilliant. Like I say, 2 or 3 coats, let it flash off for 5 minutes in between, and then we're going to leave that to dry. Now, I've sped this footage up. I'm not sure what's going on with my camera. It's been playing up a little bit lately. This is what my old one did before it needed replacement, so I hope, I'm hoping this camera doesn't need replacing. But we're going to put the rivet detail on the outer edge of the wheel. And we've got some Vallejo model colour black and a cocktail stick, and we're just dabbing it on the raised detail on the wheel. Nice and simple. And because we're putting a water-based paint on a lacquer, if we make a mistake, which I think I'll do in a minute, we can wipe it off with a moist cotton bud if needed. So I sped this up because, well, it's a little bit boring to watch otherwise. But yeah, not sure what's going on the camera lately. It's having a bit of trouble autofocusing, and it's completely white bounced out here. I'm not sure what's going on with it. But anyway, there's all our riveting done. I'm happy with how that looks. Next up, we need to mask off and spray the centre of the wheel. So we've got our display circle cutter here, which we've got almost, and I mean almost a perfect size. It's just a micromillimeter out. I think it was just a shade too big. So the easiest way to rectify it is just put a little slit in one side, and that way you can pull it in on one side, and it makes it a little bit smaller. So just pop it in place on the outer edge, get it all lined up perfect. There we go, line it up, and then we can bring the piece we cut just over the top, and there we go, job done. So yeah, the centre of these wheels is silver. Quite a complex wheel to build, these ones, quite a lot of work, but they look absolutely stunning at the end, so they're well worth the time. And there we go, that's the centre done, and now we just need to infill the outer edges, and then we can take it to the spray booth and get some paint on it. So yeah, I'm just fighting with tape here, there we go. And there we go, nice and safely done. There we go, then we can shoot over to the spray booth, and we're going to use some Pro Scale Superfine Silver on this one. Looking at the colour, it looked the closest match for it. So making sure we've got it all covered, you can see all 4 wheels are done there. We're just going to put a couple of light coats in the centre of the wheel. Very, very light coats, we do not want to flood it at all. And it's a nice subtle effect, this. You've got to look quite close to see the metallic finish, but it does look really good on the finished wheel. And like I say, these are quite a complex wheel to do, to not only build and paint, but assemble as well. There's a few parts of these, including tyre valves. But as you see, once we pull this masking off, you can see the metallic centre of the wheel. And yeah, it looks really, really good. We've also got decals to go on. There's 2 decals per rim as well. So a lot of work in these wheels, quite a lot of work. Again, decals going on, no problem at all. They wouldn't quite sit where they do on the real car because Obviously, with the scale of the wheel and the decal was a little bit overscaled in my opinion, but nonetheless, they went down well and they looked absolutely spot on. We also put a Tamiya black panel line wash in the centre hub of that wheel as well to accentuate all the road wheel nuts. And then setting the decals in place with UMP decal solutions. We then got a much finer, thinner decal on the other side as well. And again, get all the moisture out from behind it and hit it with some UMP strong decal solution. Get them all lined up. There we go. And so happy, get the decal solutions on it. And there we go. And like I say, a little bit of a pin wash in the middle. We don't want to go mad. Just accentuate where the road wheel nuts would be. And again, just adds a bit of depth to it. Makes it a little bit less monotone. Once that's dry, we'll wipe out any excess. And there we go. Right, final stage of the wheels. There we go. Seems a long way going, but we've got there. Is a 2K. So mixed up exactly the same as normal. 2 parts clear to 1 part activator. But most importantly with the last stage of the chrome is no thinner. The thinner will react with the sealer and we don't want that. So it's unthinned, straight out the airbrush. We're at 20 odd PSI. I'm just going to put a couple of light coats down, a semi-gloss coat to begin with, and then a full wet coat to begin with, to end with. And that should give us a nice glossy chrome finish. As I say, you will have lost a little bit of the chrome finish from the sealer. But once the 2K goes on and starts to settle in place, that chrome should come back. And these looked absolutely beautiful once they're done. Absolutely fantastic. So, while it looks like it's a bit long-winded, it's actually really simple to do. And it is by far the best chrome system I've used in the past. With the chrome dry now, it's about 4 or 5 hours later. As you can see, I've got every single drill bit I own on the bench. Looking for the appropriate size, which I had, and then snapped like a moron. Anyway, we've drilled out the rim. You can see my head there, so apologies for that. And we're putting in the teeny tiny turned tie valves in there with a little dab of CA glue. And then a little dab of glue on the back of the wheel, or the front of the wheel on the very outer edge. We can finally get all this wheel assembled. There we go, and then pop it through the correct way. Got a tyre mounted as well. And there we go. A little bit of push together, get the tyre sitting right. And there we go. We're going to leave that there today. We'll be back for part 2 very, very soon. So thanks for watching. And as always, if you want to access these videos, you